Welcome to the Inquisitive Wren podcast. I'm Shah, your host. Join us as we delve into inspiring conversations with thought leaders, healers, and change makers. Our aim is to offer you practical wisdom and clarity for personal growth and emotional well-being from a bird's eye view, as well as deep reflections on the power of self-awareness and the essence of being. Today I'm joined by Dr. John Lewis, who is a past full-time associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine, and he's the founder and president of Dr. Lewis Nutrition. John has been the principal investigator of over 30 different studies on human health in his research career. During that time, he either directly raised or indirectly raised a load of money in the millions in grants and gifts and contracts for research studies and clinical trials and educational programs for medical students. In addition to this research, Dr. Lewis is an international lecturer, guest speaker. He's been a guest on TV shows, and he's done a very good TEDx talk. He is a well-known author with over 180 peer-reviewed publications in some of the world's leading scientific journals. He's also mentored different students from undergraduates to postdoctoral trainees, and not only how to conduct clinical research, but to apply the principles of health promotion into daily practice. His main research interest has focused on evaluating the effects of nutrition, dietary supplements, and exercise on various aspects of human health. And his research particularly, and his landmark study on how an allopolysaccharide multi-nutrient complex improved cognitive and immune functioning after 12 months in persons with moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease, leading to the creation of a dietary supplement, Daily Brain Care. And Daily Brain Care is available for people to purchase. His seminal publication from the study in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease not only spurred him to leave academics and pursue a science-based business career, but also enabled him to be selected for a widely acclaimed TEDx Miami talk. I am so pleased to have Dr. Lewis on the show today to talk to us about daily brain care for optimal brain health, and also what brought him to this particular interest. And as always, before we jump into the episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave us a review. Connecting with you all is very important. We like to hear what you think. We like to know what you think. And we're happy to engage. So let us know, give us your ideas, let us know how this episode resonated with you, if anything stood out, what you've learned. I learned so much in this interview that it's life-changing. And this is an area, I have to say, that's gone untapped, unresearched. I think it's well under research. And this is all very new. But of course, and Dr. Lewis explains to us how, even though this is innovative and this is significant, finding the right audience for it, or trying to get people on board who are not directly associated with the medical side of things hasn't always been easy. I'm used to it as a holistic practitioner. It doesn't matter, but because people are opening up, and we're always grateful for whatever information we get back to feedback. Welcome, Dr. Lewis, to the show.
You're listening to the Inquisitive Wren podcast, the show that brings you philosophical ponderings of your life from a bird's eye view. Now, here's your host, Shah.
John, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to our conversation today. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, one of the things I'm really interested in is your research. And we're going to go into polysaccharides and all that. But I have worked a long time with people with dementia. And it's very interesting to me, when I did my training in 2 different London hospitals, some of the talk was around all the different types of dementia. And I know, and I want to ask you about your research as well. I know it's sort of ongoing, but isn't it interesting that a lot of people still don't understand that dementia is really, they're the symptoms, and that actually there's different types of dementia. So I just wondered if you could tell our listeners a little bit about that from your clinical perspective.
Sure. Well, as you said, it's interesting when you look at all the different symptoms. I forget the exact quote, but somebody, I don't know who said this, psychiatrist, neurologist, someone said if you meet a typical person with Alzheimer's disease, then you've met that one person, because there is no such thing as typical. And you as a clinician, I'm sure you know that much better than me. And I think I butchered the quote a little bit, but it's something along those lines that basically everybody with either Alzheimer's disease or some other form of dementia is like an N of one. Is like the typical. Again, I'm butchering the quote, but it was something along those lines. And so when you look at how many different things, I think a lot of times people end up, unless you know that you have chromosomes for the ApoE4 allele, then certainly you have that genetic risk going on. And I don't know, of course, there's an ethical consideration for people who may or may not want to know that if they've had both parents who ended up suffering from Alzheimer's. But beyond that, there's just so many different things. Like I was even talking to one of my best friends the other day. Her father is 80, I think he's 85, 84, 85. And she was talking about him. He lives alone. He's totally independent, but she was talking about him having some memory deficits now. But yet, the man refuses to drink water. Like he sits around his house all day doing whatever he does, and he'll eat. It's not like he's starving himself to death, but she says he just never drinks water. And I was like, well, he may not even be dealing with any real serious issue with the brain. It's just that he's dehydrated. Like there's so many different, until you start, peeling back the layers on the onion, for each individual case, you just don't know what's going on with people. So it could be a whole host of things. If you no longer remember where you put your keys every time you come in at night, that's certainly a troubling thing. If you cannot remember people's names, if you cannot remember people's birthdays, anniversaries, certain milestones in your life, those are definitely the bigger signs to look for. And you as the individual may not even realize it. You may need your spouse or your son or your daughter or your grandchild or your best friend to hopefully be honest with you and point out those things. My mother lives with us, and I won't out her age because she's very sensitive about her age, but mom is, fully independent. She has some physical issues going on from breaking a leg and some stuff with her eyes, but cognitively, mentally, she's tip top. But I would feel like, because it's just, my dad died many, many years ago, and my sister is in another state, so we're not, we don't, it's just basically mom and I and our, my children and our wife. But I would want mom to be honest with me if she saw anything with me, and likewise I would want to be honest with her if I saw anything with her, that to say, hey, we need to maybe, get this checked. But I think that's important to be able to recognize, just like I guess I would put it under the umbrella of, if you start missing like the normal things, like the things that we would just normally take for granted being cognitively intact, if those things start lapsing or you start missing those, and I'm not talking once in a blue moon, but I'm talking like with some sort of regular consistency, then that's where I think you probably need to be concerned.
Oh, that's a really good description as well. And the nuances in there too, because that's really where it will help to pinpoint what happens. There are some symptoms that we need to be aware of. You mentioned Alzheimer's, which is prevalent, but most people with dementia have Alzheimer's. It's vascular dementia, it's frontal lobe, temporal lobe. So there's different types. But one of the things that interests me is your research around this and what can help. And one thing that you have found, and I really want to ask you, how did this even come about?
Sure.
Two questions in one. One, what drew you to this area of research in your professional, because it changed the whole direction of your career, which we'll get into, but also how did you come about learning about natural remedies that can help?
Well, that we could spend the rest of the conversation just discussing this point, because this is really the crux of the matter of my life and my just journey on this planet. And that is, about 20 years ago, I met a gentleman by the name of Dr. Reg McDaniel, who completely, not as you just mentioned, not only changed my career, but my life. Dr. Reg is a pathologist by training. And about 40 years ago, he was introduced to an aloe vera product by 10 guys. Now, this is going all the way back to like 85, 86. So back in those days, if you contracted HIV and it progressed to AIDS, it was basically a death sentence. But yet these 10 men had HIV. They were positive for HIV, but they were taking this aloe vera product. They had no viral load and their CD4 cells were normal. Total medical heresy. And Reg thought it was basically a joke. He thought it was a prank. Like he had no interest in nutrition or aloe vera or anything else. He had no idea, what this was all about. But thankfully for me, that these guys would not take no for an answer. And so Reg ended up working with some of his veterinary colleagues. He could not get any of his physician friends interested, but veterinarians, because they typically have more of an interest in nutrition than the typical physician does, they started looking into, well, what in the world is this product doing? Like, how in the world is it making these guys appear to have no virus and their CD4 cells normal? And so what they ended up discovering was that a particular part of the aloe vera plant, this amazing gift from Mother Nature, is something called a polysaccharide, ace-mannan, acetylated polymannose. There's several synonyms for it. But the reality is, this complex sugar, which we can talk about the word sugar if you like in a minute as well, but this complex sugar from aloe vera inside the gel is possibly, arguably, in my opinion, the most beneficial nutrient that Mother Nature provides for humanity for any type of health promoting effect. And so Reg and his colleagues ended up embarking on this line of research. They looked into so many different things, mostly at that time, back in the 80s, of course, they were focused on virus. Then they got into cancers. They got into several different types of disease challenges. And it just was mind-blowing. I mean, they just discovered thing after thing after thing that these polysaccharides would help people heal from. And so fast forward about 20 years about 20 years ago, when he and I met, and we met through a mutual friend at the University of Miami at the medical school, and we're talking about mutual interests, and he's giving me like this crash course on aloe vera and polysaccharides, and it's blowing my mind, because I never heard of any of this stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I was like a sponge. I wanted to just keep learning more and more. And it was just incredible to hear all of the different, literally, there's not one disease, disorder, health challenge, however you like to refer to it, that Reg has not had in his 40 plus years now of experience, and my 20 plus now years of experience, and plus all the other colleagues who are still alive that are still involved in this. Now hundreds of years of, collective combined experience, both clinically and from the research perspective, in terms of what these polysaccharides can do for people. And so shortly after he and I met, he was giving a lecture at a conference, and he was talking about some of his anecdotal cases of people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And there happened to be a lady in the audience who was listening to Reg's information, and she felt very inspired and motivated, obviously, because she came up to Reg afterwards. She introduced herself. She and her husband developed a relationship with Reg over a period of time. they had 4 family members die from Alzheimer's disease. So it was very personal for her and her husband. Excuse me. And so they ultimately decided to make a donation to research, and their only request or requirement was that the research be conducted in people with Alzheimer's disease. So Reg and I have gotten to know each other. We've become fast friends, as you might say. And one day he sends me an email and he says, John, I've got an opportunity for us to do a clinical trial in Alzheimer's disease. This family has agreed to donate $200,000 to research. Reg was not affiliated with any university or research institution. He just had his own private office. And so he said, you are the best candidate to run this study. I don't know of anyone else that I would trust with this money to run this study. And of course, being here in Southeast Florida, in the Miami area, we have a lot of elderly people in this part of the United States. We obviously have a lot of people also with Alzheimer's. And so we ended up running this study based purely on the generosity of this one family. And I did not have any, like all of my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, even my father, none of them died of Alzheimer's or any type of dementia. They died from everything else, heart disease, cancer, all of that. But I didn't have a personal connection to this disease, which, a lot of times people find interesting. Usually you go into an area because you've been touched by it personally somehow. I didn't personally have that in my life up to that point, but let me tell you, after getting into designing the study and working with the center where we collected our patients and, really getting to know a lot of the people that were the caregivers, not necessarily the person with the disease, but the caregivers. And I don't have to tell you based on your experience, but you want to talk about something that really touches your heart and, how sad this disease is. And not only for the person with the disease, but also with the primary caregiver. And you mentioned in the UK what's going on with you guys. In the United States, Alzheimer's and dementia is now the 6th leading cause of death of Americans. And the primary caregiver has the worst health outcomes of any other type of caregiver. This is according to the research. This is not my opinion. You can compare that to a caregiver of someone with cancer, heart disease, HIV, any other type of disease. The person caregiving for somebody with Alzheimer's and dementia has the worst health outcomes compared to any other type of caregiver. So not only is it killing the person, and oh, by the way, it's costing somewhere between $500 and $1 trillion per year in the United States in direct and indirect care costs. So it's an incredibly just horrific situation of anybody that gets diagnosed with this. But we solely got into this. I was already conducting research in nutrition, dietary supplements, and exercise training at the point that I met Reg. It was just this polysaccharide story took my career to another level in terms of being able to see the potential of this particular plant and the nutrients contained within this plant. And so that's how this all got started. And I can, if you want me to stop there, I can just, kind of take a break from this monologue. But what I really am most excited to tell you and your listeners about is the actual results of our research, because that really is the most important thing that I can share with you guys today.
Excellent. Yes. Well, before you go into that, 2 quick things. You mentioned glucose. Oh, well, you mentioned sugar. I was saying glucose, but I just want to, is there a way to explain to us mere mortals the difference or what we need to know about sugar, glucose, or anything to do with that?
Well, yes, and I'm glad you said that, because what I like to do in a lot of these times that I'm interviewed by folks like yourself is to help people, the listeners, understand this word sugar. In the United States, again, I'm speaking from a very American perspective, so forgive me if it's not the same in the UK, but at least for the last half century in the United States, we as Americans have been conditioned to believe that anytime we hear the word sugar, we immediately think one thing, bad. Like there's no opportunity to think that, oh, well, you're consuming some sugar, it might be good for you. But first of all, it's an ignorant statement, it's factually incorrect, and you've thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and I'm going to tell you why. So biochemically in nature, there are essentially 4 types of sugars. You have monosaccharides, one sugar molecule something like high fructose corn syrup. That is put in everything, and hopefully with the new administration at RFK and what he's doing at the Health and Human Services, a lot of that stuff will over time get removed from our food supply, but still right now it's a very serious problem. So high fructose corn syrup is used as a sweetener in just about anything. Soda, cake, candy, cookies, you name it. It's put in so many things. It spikes your glucose, your blood sugar. It sets you up for all sorts of metabolic complications down the road. Secondly, you have disaccharides, di-saccharide, 2 molecules of sugar, something like sucrose or white table sugar. Again, if you're eating that every day, it's probably not your best strategy from a health perspective. Next, you have oligosaccharides. These are much more complex sugars. These are many more chains of these different glucose units that are strung together. The best one that you can think of is from breast milk. When we are small, when we are babies and we're feeding from our mother, the oligosaccharides in our mother's breast milk is incredibly important for us, for our health. It's one of the most important sources of nutrition for us as infants until we graduate to solid food. And then finally, we have things like polysaccharides, many saccharide, many molecules of sugars. These molecules, these are literally hundreds or thousands of glucose units that are attached together in these incredibly long chains that are attached together by these very sophisticated glycosidic bonds. What all that means essentially is that they are the most complex structures that we will consume. More than amino acids, more than fatty acids, certainly more than vitamins and minerals. Those are very simple structures. Anything else that we will consume, they are loaded with such amount of material of information, more so than anything else. And that's the information that our genes recognize when we consume something or when it goes through our skin. Our genes recognize that information, and then they instruct our cells in how to function properly. Now, the ones from aloe vera and rice bran, the 2 in particular that we've studied for the last 20 years, and then other things like mushrooms, seaweed. I mean, there are lots of different vegetables, grains, different types of plants that have these polysaccharides. And I can't speak to everything, and I don't claim to be an expert in everything. That's impossible. Too much information out there to know. Anybody who says they know everything about nutrition, I think is a farce anyway. But what we've studied, and again, this goes back, I'm including the 40 years that Reg has been working with this with his colleagues, leading up to 20 years ago meeting me, and then even not just our little group of scientists, but people from around the world. I mean, we know some human thousands of years ago looked at an aloe vera plant and said, wow, that's an interesting looking plant. Let's see what that does for me. And so fortunately, some human figured out millennia ago that this plant had some incredible benefit to it. Now, why is that? It's because, again, of these polysaccharides. And by the way, aloe vera doesn't just have these polysaccharides. It has lots of other nutrients in it. But I would argue that these polysaccharides are the most crucial, beneficial, important. And so circling this all the way, this conversation about sugar all the way back. So you have 4 different types of sugars biochemically. You have the biochemical structure. That's one very important characteristic. And then you have the source. So anything that comes from, again, like a simple sugar like fructose or high fructose corn syrup, that is a completely different sugar from these polysaccharides from aloe vera and rice bran. So I would just encourage everybody who's listening to this conversation, if you hear somebody say all sugar is bad for you, that person is ignorant. I'm sorry, that person is ignorant, whether that's willful or not. It's ignorant, it's factually incorrect. And don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because these complex sugars are not only not bad for us, again, I would argue, if I sound like a broken record, I would argue that they are the most beneficial nutrients that we can get from Mother Nature. And this acetylated polymannose, this one in particular, along with the one from rice bran, I would argue, again, is at the top of the list. I mean, I don't know of anything else out there that can provide such wide-ranging benefit to literally every cell in our body. And that's the reason why you cannot make this dumb statement that all sugar is bad for us. It's not true. It's simply not true.
That's incredible, but I don't think anybody's talking about this. I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard this.
Exactly. And that's why I love what I do so much, because exactly to your point, and it's not like you're setting me up with these, softball questions to have such a beautiful conversation, but that's exactly why I love what I do, because I'm not this, the 1,000th person out there talking about protein. I mean, how many people are running around the world talking about the importance of protein or, vitamin C or something else? No, these polysaccharides are completely ignored, and they are not appreciated for what they can do for all of us.
Let's pause for a moment from the show. And if you're enjoying today's episode of the Inquisitive Wren podcast, we truly love your support. Leaving a 5-star review, hitting the like button, and subscribing on your favorite platform not only helps us grow, it ensures that you never miss an inspiring conversation. A word or two from you means the world, more than you know. They spark new, fresh ideas, connect us with incredible guests, and keeps the energy flowing. And if you're ready to go deeper, join our exclusive subscription service, where you'll gain access to bonus content, guided meditations, healing tools, and more to support your personal journey. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, watching on YouTube, or tuning in elsewhere, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments and help spread the word. Subscribe now to never miss an episode of deep dives into spirituality, philosophy, psychology, and personal growth. Together, we're building a conscious community that celebrates curiosity, transformation, and growth. Thank you for being a part of the journey. Now, let's dive back into today's episode.
I mean, it's just incredible. We could have lots of conversations beyond our discussion on the research, but it's just incredible what these polysaccharides can do for us to help people. Not only, if you're dealing with a health challenge already, and I'm being cautious with my words because I don't want anybody to make the statement that Lewis said you can use nutrition to treat disease. I'm not saying that at all. But when you have a health challenge and you provide the body the raw materials that it needs to function properly, again, allowing the genes to interpret that information to then instruct the cells how to function, that is a very powerful paradigm. That's the nutritional model. That's not the pharmacological model, where you take a chemical, you alter a metabolic pathway with that chemical, you get side effects from that. Maybe your headache goes away or you have less pain temporarily, but that's not addressing the root of anything. That's just masking a Band-Aid of a gushing wound. That's doing nothing essentially, but that's the pharmacological model. And that's treating disease, curing, managing, mitigating symptoms. That's what, the regulators in the United States, and I'm sure in the UK too, will allow the drug people to say. The nutritional people like me, we say, no, we're using the raw materials to allow the body to repair, restore, and heal itself. And again, I would put these polysaccharides up against anything else I'm aware of to be able to help the body do that.
Well, it's new information for me, and I would say I'm positive it will be for everyone listening to this, because it's just new. So I like the autonomy there as well, that all sugars are not created equal, pretty much, yes. And that you've got to look at what they offer individually, which brings us around to the issue of polysaccharides helping in a way that perhaps other things can't with dementia or with Alzheimer's as such. So how did we get to that point for you? How did you get round to that?
So as this family was, again, so kind and generous to donate this money to us to do research, of course, I got incredibly inspired because of, learning up to that point, everything that Reg had done already in his career and his life, and then the potential that we had. And again, by the way, for those of you who maybe don't know too much about academic research, I mean, $200,000 may sound like a lot of money, but in reality, it's not. I mean, you're talking, when you talk about Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson or some of these really big companies, they spend millions and millions of dollars. They don't spend $200,000. They spend multi-millions of dollars to run their studies. But anyway, I knew we had something potentially worthwhile on our hands here. I had no idea what the results of the study would show. But again, based on everything Reg had done at that point and everything I had learned, I felt like our potential was great. So we chose to look at people with moderate to severe disease, which that's the worst. And that's also the group of people, the patient population that Big Pharma basically has ignored at this point. Basically, Big Pharma has thrown up their hands and said, we can't help these people. So Reg and I wanted to look at how could we help the worst, most impaired part of this population of patients. And so we didn't want to look at mild cognitive impairment. We didn't want to look at the milder stage of severity. We wanted to look at the most sick people, the sickest people. And a lot of the caregivers, by the way, they were, as you can imagine, so excited because they were always neglected. They were always excluded from any type of research study there at the center. They were just never, their loved one was never eligible. So you talk about an incredibly motivated group of people collectively. I'd never met any other group like that in my entire research career. I mean, just hard-hitting, really motivated people. So we wanted to put them on our dietary supplement, this aloe polysaccharide complex, for a year period. We felt like we wanted to give the supplement, an opportunity for 1 year to see what would happen. We conducted assessments. We conducted the cognitive functioning assessments at baseline, 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. And then, unfortunately, because of our limited budget, we drew blood at baseline in 12 months. I wish now, looking back on it, I had drawn blood at 3, 6, and 9 and then just put it in the freezer to save, for later analyses, but we didn't do that. But we did draw the blood at baseline in 12 months because we had an idea, again, based on all of Reg's previous work, that there would be links between what happens in the immune system and markers of inflammation, and then how that would correlate with cognitive function, and it turned out he was accurate. So at the end of the study, well, actually, let me back up because there's something very important I want to say. As we're running the study, first of all, the psychiatrist who was responsible for, making sure the diagnosis was accurate, this was the most skeptical person of anybody I've met almost in my entire career. This guy was like, well, you and Reg have some money. We have a lot of patients here. But, we're big drug researchers. He was all proud of himself. We do drug research here. This mamby-pamby nutrition stuff, this is like kiddie stuff. We do drug research. He's very proud of all of his, portfolio of drug research. So we don't think your little dietary supplement's going to do anything, but you've got money and we've got a lot of patients here, so we don't study those people anyway. Sure, why not? I mean, literally, that was the kind of attitude and skepticism we got from him. And this was in a meeting. And actually, the donor came into town. She and Reg were from Texas. They flew down to Miami. We're all sitting around at a table at this meeting. And the psychiatrist is giving this attitude and this skepticism to the three of us. And we're all kind of like, wow, what's this guy's problem? But anyway, as we start running the study, I get caregivers. I get staff members. I even get this psychiatrist. I won't say this man's name just out of my own, even though I don't really care for the guy, but just out of respect for him, I won't say his name. But even he had to call me one day and admit, oh, well, you know what? If I hadn't been seeing these patients myself, I wouldn't have believed it. Like that was his, he had to kind of come to a Jesus moment, so to speak, to say, well, wait a minute, maybe this stuff is actually doing something. So, and I would get caregivers that would occasionally call me in tears. Like they would say, Dr. Lewis, I cannot believe my wife is now, telling me how to drive home from the center. She's now remembering our wedding anniversary. It was just incredible to hear these kind of little anecdotes. And then the most powerful one that I can tell you, and I wish, you talk about wishing you had done things. I wish we had video recordings of some of these people, because if we had done before and after of some of these recordings, it would have been like nothing else you could imagine. But the oldest lady in the study, she was 93. She had been diagnosed for like 11 or 12 years, way beyond the point, actually, that she should have lived. Most people don't live that long with this disease, especially at that age. This lady, when we enrolled her at baseline, she was in a wheelchair and she could not speak. She just basically came to the center every day for whatever socialization may have been minimally stimulating her, but beyond that, nothing was helping her. And obviously, all these people had taken all of the FDA-approved drugs for dementia, for, in some cases, years. But anyway, sometime between baseline and the 3-month assessment, one day she came and I'm already getting chill bumps telling you this. She came walking into the center, and she called one of our clinical coordinators, Raphael, by his first name. That guy started crying like a baby because he was overwhelmed with emotion that this lady, who never said a word to him up to that point, actually could call his name. I have chill bumps all over my body. Right, it gives me a very, very strong emotional response every time I tell this. But that was just mind-boggling. Not only for him, but obviously her family, that she actually did that. But anyway, it was just, as we're running the study, we're getting these kind of really powerful anecdotes. So we get to the end of the study, we've entered all the data, we're starting to do the statistical analysis, and of course, Reg and I are very excited to see what the cognitive data look like. So we in our battery used what's called, I'm sure you're familiar with it, many of your listeners are probably not, but it's called the ADAS-Cog. And the ADAS-Cog, for those of you who don't know, is considered to be the gold standard for assessing cognitive function, particularly in people with any form of dementia. It's been published in thousands of articles for the last several decades. We showed clinically and statistically significant improvement in cognitive function at the 9 and 12 assessment points. Let me repeat that. We showed clinically and statistically significant improvement in cognitive function at 9 and 12 months. These were people with moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease. Oh, by the way, they were on average 79.9 years of age. Oh, by the way, they didn't just have Alzheimer's, they had diabetes, depression, different forms of heart disease, very comorbidly sick people. A very sick, elderly group of folks who, in most cases, had completely lost, whatever they had in life. And they were now, as I like to refer to it, coming back from the ether. I mean, it was just overwhelming for us. As soon as we saw that result, excuse me, I wanted to run out of my office and run around the neighborhood. I mean, I was so just blown away and moved by that finding. There has never been anything else like that. And I don't mean to sound like a complete narcissist when I tell you this, but you can compare our results to any type of diet, certainly not the 5 FDA approved for drugs for dementia. They don't do anything. But you can compare this to any type of diet, any other type of dietary supplement, exercise, hyperbaric oxygen, acupuncture, red light therapy, sound therapy, music therapy. You pick it. Go to PubMed, do your own research, do your own literature search. You will find no other study, no other clinical trial that shows any kind of finding like this. There's nothing else like it. We published that first paper in 2013. We've actually published 4 papers now from that Alzheimer's study. The first paper was published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease and I'll talk about the cellular data in just a moment if you like, but we submitted this paper to the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease. I've had over 100, I'm somewhere between 180 and 190 peer-reviewed publications at this point in my life, but Dr. George Perry, who's still the editor of that journal, by the way, he called me up shortly after I'd submitted that paper. He was like, wow, Dr. Lewis, this paper is really cool. I've never seen any kind of results like this. As soon as we get the reviews back from the reviewers, I'm going to recommend that we publish your paper immediately. That's the one and only time in my career anything else like that ever happened. I've had papers take, in some cases, years to get published because of, whatever delays, but that was the one and only time I actually had the editor of a journal call me up that excited about our own research to congratulate me and, to share that he wanted to publish it as quickly as possible because of its importance. So that cognitive finding, again, just blew us away. And I also should just quickly distinguish for the listeners between statistical and clinical significance, because that's a very important point. You can have something because of large numbers. You can have hundreds or thousands of people in your study. You can do all kinds of assessments and time points. Just by the law of large numbers, you will expect to find certain things that are statistically significant. They may not have any clinical or practical relevance to the real world, But yeah, you can hang your hat on, something that's statistically significant because the p-value was less than 0.05. Big deal. In the case,
that language is taking me back to my degree, and it's giving me trauma.
Yes.
But that's okay.
Yes, exactly. In the case of the ADAS-Cog, if you have a change on the score of 4 points, either better or worse, that has been deemed to be clinically relevant, practically relevant. So we hit that threshold at both the 9 and 12 time points, being both clinically and statistically significant. And again, I don't mean to sound like a total narcissistic maniac, but there is nothing else like that in the scientific literature. Why did that occur? Why did we see this clinical change? Because that would be the next question that most people would want to know. So at the cellular level, again, we looked at a whole biomarker panel of things going on in the immune system and inflammatory inflammation. We showed, according to the CD4 to CD8 ratio, which is a ratio of our helper to our cytotoxic cells. That's a very important ratio for overall immune function, not just for people with Alzheimer's. That's actually important for all of us. Every person who's living, you want to have a good CD4 to CD8 ratio. So we showed a nice statistical improvement over that 12-month period. We two very important proteins that are markers of inflammation, TNF-alpha and VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor. Those have commonly been looked at in heart disease and cancer. Our paper was probably the first one that showed reductions in those markers over that 12-month period. And then finally, in that first paper, we showed just under a 300% increase in CD14 cells. CD14s are markers of adult stem cells. They have been shown in other research to be able to turn into neurons. They migrate out to the brain or the spinal cord, wherever they go. In this case, we theorize the brain, to repair damage, to create new neurons, to create new synapses, etc. Just under 300% over that 12-month period. Again, as a reminder, these were folks on average 79.9 years of age. So think about this for just a second. Improving the overall immune system's functioning, increasing that adult stem cell production by just a ridiculous percentage, and then lowering inflammation. When you put that picture together, it helps to create a foundation or a physiological or a cellular explanation for why this occurred in the brain, why the mind got better, why the mind actually was allowing these people to come back again. So that was all published in that first paper, and it's to this point, even though I'm not in academics full time anymore, it's to this point in my life, in my academic career, the highlight really of being able to actually help people with this tragic disease where, it's wonderful to be an ethical scientist, to spend your money from your sponsor properly and to do good scientific work. But when you can actually help people like this, it takes it to another level.
Indeed, because that's the purpose of research, isn't it? To help to change it.
That's right.
It takes upon, it's huge. If anybody's done a research project out there, we'd love to hear from you. What's your experience? It's not easy. People don't sleep. People don't eat. You could speak on that. It's not an easy process. So now, two quick things, because I think people will be asking, was this research, was there ever a focus of the type of dementia, or was this just across the board?
Well, we just looked at people that were diagnosed, again, through the clinic staff with moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease. I would have to go back and double check. Quite frankly, you've asked me a question I can't answer off the top of my head, but I would assume that all of those people were strictly Alzheimer's patients, not any Lewy body, vascular, stroke people. I don't think that was the case.
Okay, great. That's yeah.
But I will, my not caveat to that, my not even my intuition or suspicion. This is, again, not through research, but just all the anecdotal work that I've done in addition to that study. And by the way, we also ran a study in multiple sclerosis as well. But the number of people that we've helped across the board, and I'm including Reg and other colleagues in this little we, if you will, is that, again, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of different health challenges that people have responded to successfully. And the reason why is because every cell, every 30 plus trillion cells in our body will utilize these polysaccharides just like they utilize oxygen, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals. These polysaccharides are that important, and they are utilized by every cell in the body. So regardless of where you have damage in the brain, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, the skin, the bones, the muscles, you name it, your cells will utilize these nutrients.
If you're into living with purpose, clarity, and soul, check out the Aligned Living newsletter. I am genuinely obsessed with creating it. Every month, I share strategies that actually work, drawn from over 20 years as a therapist, plus powerful insights into spiritual and personal growth. And the best part, you'll get access to free resources like the Aligned Living Journal, full e-courses, guided meditations, and tools to help you shift your energy, habits, and mindset, all for free when you sign up. I'm building this with heart, with soul, with honesty, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. Head to the link in the show notes and join me today. Okay, that's helpful to know, right. Okay, wow. Okay, there's so much there, and I want to, I have loads of questions, so I'm trying to
Yes,
ring fence them so that I don't keep you too long. But two quick things.
happy to come back.
Yeah, great, that would be wonderful. Now, I'm thinking ahead, and already I'm thinking about future progress here. Now, which ties into what you provide. So you have a supplement that is FDA approved. You've got all of this, haven't you?
Yes.
Tell us about what's available and how that came about.
You know, it's kind of it's partially a little bit sad, and certainly there was frustration and anger from my part after publishing that first paper. As you can imagine, I was on cloud nine. I literally thought we were on our way to like a Nobel Prize type of moment, not necessarily just from that one study, but I thought hand over fist, National Institutes of Health, Alzheimer's Association, all these big funding agencies that have more money than they have common sense would just throw, millions of dollars at us to continue extending this work. You know what we got in response? I tried 4 times, 2 times with NIH, 2 times with Alzheimer's Association. You know what we got in response? Crickets. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Zero. Zip. We got nothing, because ultimately what those people are interested in is either something pharmaceutical or something biotech like genetics where they can make millions or billions of dollars. They do not care about nutrition. And so I did not realize it, but that first paper in 2013 was the beginning of the end of my academic career. So from 13 to 17, I was still running. I mean, again, as I mentioned, I had other studies going too. It wasn't just this line of research. I had a lot of things going. I had a pretty big lab at that point in my career. But as I started getting more and more increasingly frustrated and really my eyes opening, to the real world of how big money research works, and knowing that I'm now, like I'm the outsider, right? Like I'm not part of the clique in the pharma crowd. I'm the outsider in nutrition. So it became very obvious that I was not going to go anywhere with this. I mean, I even had colleagues in my own institution saying, John, why don't you get real and do pharma research? Like this nutrition stuff is not going to go anywhere. I had people that I thought were like, friends in a way, like telling me this kind of thing. So anyway, that's fine. I mean, I'm not bitter about it. I'm actually very grateful for every experience that I've had, whether it's been a punch to the gut or a pat on the back, whatever it is. I'm grateful for everything, because it molds you into who you are and creates an opportunity for you to learn from, let's call them failures, even though they're not necessarily that. But anyway, I decided in 2017 to leave academics because I just got so tired of banging my head against the wall trying to get these so-called experts to value and appreciate our work. And not only that, but to actually write us a check and say, here, Lewis, keep going, keep making these incredible discoveries. So my academic career pretty much came to an end from a full-time perspective. I still have an affiliation with the university. I still teach the occasional class. I still work with undergrad and medical students to help them get publications. I mean, I enjoy having, my little foot still in the door there. But I created Daily Brain Care under the Dr. Lewis Nutrition brand because of this work. And I would love to come back if you would have me to continue talking more about the research, not only just in this study, but in our multiple sclerosis study as well, because I know a lot of people are also affected by that terrible disease. And so we created a product called Daily Brain Care under the Dr. Lewis Nutrition brand that I'm just incredibly proud of. I mean, this is my life's work. Like, this wasn't some, I'm in the shower one night and, oh, wow, let me create this product and make $1 million. No, this is my baby. I mean, I have 2 children, but this is my inanimate baby that I am so passionate, as you can tell, and proud of because of all the work that my colleagues and I have put into this. So I'm essentially a businessman at this point that still has an academic, scientific foundation and base, but I'm trying to bring this product, and I'm so grateful for our time today to allow me to share this message with you to help spread the word of what this formula can do for people, because it's just, I don't know anything else like it. And this is what I will do till my last breath, whether I've got one more day or 40 more years of life, this is what I will do till my last breath.
And it was, and is, I will say is a huge breakthrough. It still is a huge breakthrough. So I always say, never say never. I mean, the world is evolving. I've been in rooms when you were describing the psychiatrists. I wouldn't, but I could name so many of them that I've sat in rooms with in clinical supervision and with me recommending something like mindfulness to a patient with chronic depression and them going, oh no, hold on, that will destabilize them. I've been it brings back memories, or somebody mentioning, I think I'll try rebirthing, and the consultant say, oh no, that will destabilize them, we'll have to up their medication dosage. So yes, it frightens people. Anything natural, I've been in those spaces, in those rooms.
Never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button right now. Thank you for your support. You make this podcast possible. Now, back to the show.
And yes, okay, I'm grateful for all of that, as you are. Now, this product, because I don't want that to get lost. So people can get it from your website, and all the links will be in the show notes. But this is a breakthrough because there's lots of products on the market. I can see a line of them in the back on your shelf. What is it about this product that's different from everything else? And I know that you've gone through some of the ingredients, why it happens, why it's there. We haven't talked about rice bran. That's very curious for me. I want to know about rice bran. But what is it about this product that makes it different?
Well, first of all, the testing. I mean, if you compare Dr. Lewis Nutrition to, just take a random sample of another 100 companies out there, you will find probably 99 of them are all about the marketing, not about the science. And what I mean by that is they were not founded by anyone who actually conducted the research to say, yes, this works. So think about that for a second. I mean, anybody can go to PubMed or Google Scholar or any other search engine and start putting in a bunch of nutrients and phytonutrients and just start searching for what's been conducted, and then just create a formula. And it didn't even require any real work, other than just doing a literature search and saying, well, I can use 400 milligrams of this and 10 milligrams of that and 1 gram of this, and there's my formula, and boom, I'm going to sell it. Anybody can do that, especially in the United States. I mean, maybe you guys in the UK have a little more stricter environment, but literally in the United States, as long as you're not using, something that could kill people, you can create anything that's on the generally recognized as safe list and start selling it under your product name and brand, and boom, you're in business. I mean, you may not sell anything because it all comes down to marketing, but still it's that easy to get into our industry. So number one, very, very few companies out there have, and again, I don't mean to sound like a narcissistic maniac when I say this, but very few other companies have the scientific base that Dr. Lewis Nutrition does. That's first of all. Number two, to your point a few minutes ago, like, why have I never heard about these polysaccharides? Gosh, this is incredible. Again, I have very little competition. I mean, Dr. Reg has his own formula, and we don't really compete with each other because, Dr. Reg is he's almost like a second father to me. I mean, I love this man as much as I love just about anybody on the planet. So I would never want to take away his business or, do anything to negatively impact him and his family. But I mean, besides Dr. Reg's product, there are very, very few other products that even recognize the value of these polysaccharides. I mean, you mentioned the rice bran. Think about this for a second. 70 to 80% of the rice, not rice bran, of the rice sold in the world is white rice. Most of the people in the world prefer to eat white rice. So the rice has three basic components to it. It has the outer husk or the hull. That's like cardboard. We can't eat that. So that gets stripped off first. The next layer is the bran. Again, most people in the world don't want to eat brown rice. So the bran gets stripped off, excuse me, and then is either thrown away or fed to livestock. So actually, in most cases, livestock, the animals are eating the most beneficial part of that amazing rice plant. And so then, the last layer, of course, is that big white endosperm, which is, again, nutritious, but it's had all those other polysaccharides and elements and cofactors, amino acids, fatty acids. That is where the beauty of that plant is. And so rice bran, daily brain care was not meant to be like a magic bullet. We as Americans, probably you guys as British too, the average person is always looking for that one thing, right? That one magic bullet. Just tell me the one thing to do. Like everybody wants to know the one magic thing. Daily brain care is not that. It's not a multivitamin and mineral like a Centrum or a one a day. It is a formula that's based on these polysaccharides from aloe vera and rice bran with a few other key things added to it that provide the raw materials the body needs to function properly as guided by our genes. And that is a very important point to make sure that people understand, because these nutrients are typically not found in the diet. I don't know about you. I don't know anybody that eats aloe vera. And even if you did, it's 99% water. And you wouldn't possibly be able to get enough polysaccharide content in that gel to give you a therapeutic or physiological benefit from eating that gel. It wouldn't happen. In fact, you'd probably end up getting diarrhea if you tried to do it that way. I mean, here in Miami, we have aloe vera growing in our backyard, but I'm not out there snipping leaves every day, and sucking down that gel. Number one, it tastes like hell. And again, number two, it just is a very inefficient, poor way to try to get those polysaccharides. We've done all the hard work for you. We've concentrated it into this powder that you can get the benefit from. And then even if I eat, I don't know about you, but I love brown rice. I eat it almost every day, maybe not every, but 5-6 days a week. Even then, if you have a very serious health challenge, you're past middle age, you're probably not getting enough of the rice bran in that half a cup or cup of serving of brown rice a day to really give your body the benefit, the concentrated source of this nutrition that it would need to function properly. And then we have several other things in there as well. For example, tart cherry. I mean, it's a very important nutrient. It actually, for people that are not sleeping well, it's a natural source of melatonin. So a lot of people report with daily brain care that it helps them sleep better. We have things in there like flaxseed. Flaxseed is an incredible nutrient. I mean, people commonly think of it as a source of omega-3, but it's actually, there is no other plant material known to science that has more lignin content in it than flaxseed does. You know what lignans do? They kill the crap out of cancer cells. So that's an incredibly important nutrient in it. There's a material called inositol hexaphosphate, IP6. This material actually is an extract from rice bran. It also kills the crap out of cancer cells. There's something in there called N-acetylcysteine. It's a modified version of the amino acid cysteine. This is one of your metabolic precursors to glutathione, which is a very important antioxidant. So It's very difficult to take oral glutathione. You can take it through an IV, but that's expensive, that's costly, to go to a center to have an IV done. But you take your N-acetylcysteine, and that helps your body to produce more glutathione, especially when we hit middle age and get older, our capacity to do that goes down. We have another really incredible material in there called Ultra Terra clay. This clay, we know humans, again, just like with aloe vera and rice, humans have been using clay for millennia. Why have humans done that? It's for a detoxing purpose. This clay helps to pull out all of this stuff that we have in the environment today, whether it's heavy metals, arsenic, PCBs, PAHs, all these other synthetic things that we have just literally flooded the earth with. So the clay is a very potent and strong chelator, and it helps to pull all that stuff out. We have in there sunflower lecithin. Sunflower lecithin is a very nice source of choline. Choline is a nutrient. It's kind of a hybrid nutrient. It's not a vitamin, although sometimes it gets lumped into the vitamin B family, but it's really not a vitamin. It's a kind of its own unique structure. But choline is also, we know, very important for both your brain and your heart. We have in there a material called wild yam, Dioscorea. This particular plant is loaded with these saponin materials that help people with any kind of hormonal metabolic disturbances. So for women, maybe you're starting to reach that menopause stage in life. That material is also very important to help you with your endocrine and your metabolic hormonal issues. So it's again the shotgun approach of providing all of these materials to the cells to help the body function properly. And this is why we see so many different effects across the board. Even, forgetting the name Daily Brain Care for a minute, the body doesn't care, what the name is on the label. It wants to be able to utilize whatever you provide it in the formula. So we could have named this thing anything that we wanted, but we chose Daily Brain Care, again, because of our primary research to support the claims on the label from our Alzheimer's and MS study. And then also, as you well know, literally every segment of society today, from birth to death, you just look at any part of society, just take a little snapshot, and that snapshot is going to have some brain health issue. Every segment of society today. So those were the two main reasons we call it Daily Brain Care. We could have called it Daily Cell Care, Daily Heart Care, Daily Liver Care, Bone Care, whatever, you name it. We have anecdotal responses of just about anything that you can imagine. Again, because every 30 plus trillion cells in our body utilizes these nutrients. And that was what the purpose of this was all about. So again, this is a formula that has been scientifically validated. We have 4 papers from the Alzheimer's study. We have 3 papers from the MS study. There's nothing else like that. And I put my name on the label, for God's sake. I mean, I'm not trying to be, deceptive or shadowy about this. I mean, I'm an open book. I mean, you can go to my website and learn all about our research and my career and the blood, sweat, and tears and the decades I've put into this. So I'm again grateful for being on your show, and I'm happy to answer any more questions or come back, or anybody can contact me through our website. We're on all the typical social media channels under the Dr. Lewis Nutrition handle. And I just want to help people. I mean, at the end of the day, this is about helping people through a very simple yet powerful tool.
This has been fascinating. I wonder if you could come back at some point, because I do want to delve into the MS area. That's under-researched, not looked into very much, and anything that might be natural that can help, fantastic. But quickly, just about your product, people can get it from the website, but is it available? Our generation, they all go to Amazon, they go to everywhere else. How can people get the product?
So in the UK, it would be, we're not set up for foreign transactions per se. However, if anybody, because I am working actually with a family, let me tell you about this anecdote real quick. There was a lady in the UK who has had Parkinson's for 12, 13 years. She's in her mid-70s. When I met her 2 years ago, this lady had no color in her face. She was very static. We were on a Zoom call like you and I are. She barely moved. I was with her two sons, one son who still lives in the UK and the other son who's now in the United States. And they had gotten to me through a mutual acquaintance. But this lady had been dealing with Parkinson's for many years on lots of different medications. You know, they were very concerned about her quality of life. So I said, well, and I basically had the same conversation you and I just had, basically telling them about all the science and all the things that I had found over my career. And so they were like, well, we have nothing to lose. Let's try it. So they ordered, got her started on it. We had another phone call in about 30, 45 days. Her color was unreal. She went from gray to having like actual color in her face. She was smiling. She was cracking jokes. She was actually moving. It was phenomenal to see this transformation literally in less than 60 days. About another 30 days after that, she also had rheumatoid arthritis. For the first time in years, she could actually do this. She couldn't bend her fingers like for years. They were so stiff from all of the swelling and inflammation. She could actually straighten her fingers for the first time in like years. Her nurse who helps her bathing could actually see her spinal column. It was always so swollen that she could never really see her spinal column. And she's still doing very well today. This is after now 2 years of being on daily brain care. So I say that to say that anybody in the UK or any other country, I'm happy to help you with, placing the order and then doing the shipping to get it to you. But I am working, actually it's great timing. I don't know when this will happen, but I am working with a gentleman now in the UK. He's in London, who's interested in distributing daily brain care in the UK. So it will take us a bit of time to go through all the regulatory issues. But once we have that established, then we will be able to have it. Now, you can order Amazon on Amazon US, on Amazon UK. You can place an order there. And then again, we have to work out the details with shipping. But as you pointed out, a lot of people prefer to shop on Amazon today. But I'm happy to help anybody, place an order that would be interested in this if they go to our website and check it out and then decide they want to move forward.
Excellent. And if somebody has a question for you to say, okay, I'm considering this. I heard the podcast. I listened to everything you said. It all makes sense, especially the bit about inflammation as well, which is really such an important part. I mean, there's so many nuggets in everything you've explained today. Can they just email you quick questions and you shoot them answers back to make decisions about should they go for it? Is it right for them? Is it right for their loved one? Or the person they're caring for? Is that okay for them to do?
Absolutely. We have all of our contact information on the website, so they can either email me or give us a call. We're more than happy to help people with any specific questions. We do, and by the way, we do have a very extensive FAQ section on the website as well. Obviously, on all the social media, that'll be, like snippets of videos, short nuggets of information. On the website, if you really want to dive into it, there is a lot of information there.
There is indeed, and I'm glad you mentioned the socials because links will all be in the show notes. So go and follow Dr. Lewis as well. And Daily Brain Care, fantastic, wonderful. We need it. So thank you for the work you're doing. I mean, you're obviously doing your life's work. This is obviously your call.
Thank you. By the way, if I can just say one more thing, again, this isn't about waiting till we get some disease or disorder and then saying, oh my gosh, what do I do? I have been on my own formula for over 10 years. I've had my mother on it. Mom's been on it for 13, 14. My wife started taking it over 6 years ago when she was pregnant with our first child. Our two children, who, when they turned 4 or 5 months of age, I started giving it to them. So again, these polysaccharides are for, if you can open your mouth and swallow, they are for you. You're not getting them from food. And they are very important for all of us because prevention is just as important as treatment. And I would be a hypocrite if I was selling something that I wasn't taking for myself. So I just wanted to make sure people were understanding and clear that I'm not selling something that I don't, very much value for my own behavior and my own health promotion. But again, thank you so much for being with you today. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to coming back anytime you would have me.
Thank you so much. That's a really good point. You don't have to have dementia to take
That's right.
these supplements. Wonderful. John, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. All the best moving forward. We're going to go and dive into your website more. Congratulations on your TEDx talk. That was fantastic, amazing. You did brilliantly on that. Good audience as well. So keep doing it. I'm sure there'll be more of those talks, I hope, because it's a way to get out there. Everybody watches those. So I don't know how you did it. I admire it. I don't know if I could do that. It's great. Well done. Thank you once again, and I hope to see you again soon.
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Inquisitive Wren podcast. I hope you found it insightful. If you did, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who might enjoy it too. Don't forget to share it on social media. It really helps us reach more people who resonate with our content. If you haven't already, make sure to follow the show. It's the best way to stay connected and help our Inquisitive Wren community grow. I'd also love to hear from you. Leave a rating and a review to let me know your thoughts, and be sure to follow so you never miss the latest episodes or behind the scenes content from the Inquisitive Wren.
If you're ready for exclusive soul-nourishing content that you won't find anywhere else, become a subscriber on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to access ad-free episodes with special guided meditations and visualizations for calm and clarity, and bonus episodes on spiritual growth, personal growth, energy healing, and spiritual awakening. Join the inner circle and experience deeper self-discovery today.
Thanks again, and as always, stay curious.